The Springboks are on track to defend their title in 2027. Welcome to Forever Boks, and today we're going to be looking at the state of our World Cup defense and sort of the state of 2027 really when it comes to the Springboks, and looking at where Rassie Erasmus is with regards to his squad and how it's starting to shape up as we build towards trying to go back to back to back. The three-peat is what the Springboks are daring to do. The first team ever in history to potentially go 3 World Cups in a row. And I'll tell you what, the players are there to do it. It's whether it can all come together once again and basically have the perfect storm to be able to get through and win in Australia, which will be an incredible feat. And but again, not the most sort of outrageous feat given how the Boks continue to progress and continue to be the top side in the world. And what's going to be very interesting is to see sort of what changes we might start to see with regards to lineups and the way we play this year as we continue to look to evolve. That's the one thing about Rassie Erasmus' coaching staff. They do not rest on their laurels. They very much are always looking to evolve, to adapt, to grow as a side. And it's very much not a case of doing the same thing over and over again, hoping the next technology to be able to catch up. And they're always consistently trying to find that edge. And that's the big thing when it comes to rugby at this sort of level. It's finding that extra edge, that 0.5%. You know, those margins of error are so small. Those extra inches, for example, can be the difference between winning a World Cup, bowing out in the quarterfinal. You look at Ireland, for example, and that steal by Sam Whitelow, that was a penalty. That could have been New Zealand out. Ireland could have gone on to win the World Cup. So those sort of small inches, which is why attention to detail is absolutely everything. And starting to look at the squads, for example, we'll start to understand exactly what kind of detail that Rassie Erasmus and his coaching staff are looking at. Before we do that, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, I have here an analysis of the squad with their current age, their position, as well as the age they will be at the start of the World Cup in 2027. And what's very interesting is we did a similar exercise with the alignment camp, which sort of raised a few eyebrows with regards to some of the older players. But if you look at the squad now, it looks a lot more diverse, you know, in terms of an age profile point of view, and quite 50-50 with regards to sort of senior players and young players. Now, the green, orange, and red means that green is that you're below 30 come the 2027 World Cup. Orange means that you are above 30, and then red means you are above 35. So those are the players who are kind of like in the red zone, inverted commas. Do we need to worry about them? Now, what's very interesting is if you look at the bottom here at a bit of an overview, is right now in the squad, there are 20 players who are 30 and over, 3 of which who are 35 and over, but 29 which are below 30. So a big majority, well over half the squad, are currently below 30. If it's the same squad sort of in the 2027 year, then obviously sort of the dynamics start to shift. However, your rugby peak is sort of 27, sort of 32 years old, really. Those sort of 5 years is probably where you play your best rugby. So what we're seeing by that big margin of 11 players sort of turning 30 in the next 2 years is we're looking at about probably, you know, a good 30-odd players who are probably going to be in their rugby peaks. And that is the main thing. Rassie Erasmus did the research. Jacques Nyoba spoke about it in one of the press conferences. He spoke about the fact that they looked at what the average age was of players in World Cup winning squads. And they are a bit older, so 28, 29, because they've got need that experience. And there's a certain amount of tests that they've also sort of played when they got there. And that sort of information is really important. So if we look at the squad, for example, now immediately there's a couple of players who are missing through injury. Trevor Nyakane, France Maheba, for example, 2 big ones. So all of a sudden, our prop stocks at the moment aren't looking too old. But it immediately sort of flags Vincent Koch. If France Maheba would be there as well. Now, the big thing at the moment, I think, is your next sort of gen tight heads. And we're now looking at Thomas Dutoy, Vilkola, Asnatin Klabakania, Nettling Bashir. Now, tight heads are always generally a little bit older. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's one of those positions that you just take a while to develop into. But we always see him peaking a little bit later in their sort of careers. Now, Asnatin Klabakania is kind of the outlier. He is significantly younger than the rest. Nettling Bashir, even if he gets debut, for example, he's well into his 30s. So the main thing is 3 out of 4 of these players will be into their 30s come the next World Cup, but not massively into their 30s. 32 is not old, 33 is not old, 34 is not particularly old, 37 becomes a bit old. But again, in a tight head, you wouldn't be the oldest tight head around with Vincent Koch. But Asnat and Klabakanya in particular, perfectly sort of primed to be in that really nice age group, sort of 28 years old there. If you look at loose heads, for example, not a single worry in the world, because our oldest loose head is Oxen Che, who'll be just 32 at the next World Cup. I mean, it shows you how good he was, that, at peak of his powers and dominating people at sort of 26, 27 years old, and I don't expect him to get better. So, like Lucy, it's absolutely not an issue at all. If you look at hooker, for example, Bongi Manambi is sort of your immediately worry, because he's going to be 36 the next World Cup. Marnus van der Merwe, though, is 28 years old. He should be starting to come into his own, and really is. Now, Locke is a bit of an issue, and we've noticed a bit of an issue as well. Now, what we are seeing is a couple of new faces, Ruan Nokia, Kobus Visa in particular, who are one of the younger sort of players in the squad. But big question marks over Franco Mostert, question marks over Evan Etzebeth, probably more so because of the last 6 months due to injuries. Similarly, if you look at the back row, Sia Khaleesi, Peter Steff, the Toy, those are sort of the big sort of worries with regards to getting to the next World Cup. Now, the nice thing is that we've looked at bringing in younger players. So Jasper Wiese is going to be fine, but we've looked at Vincent Tuka, Jean Augustus, Evan Ruiz, all coming into the squad. Cameron Hanekom, very young player. Unfortunately, we don't know if he's going to be able to play in Springbok rugby anytime soon due to that injury. Still waiting on an update there. But what you can basically see is in almost every single position, there are a couple of older players, but the majority, but there's a succession plan there. And I think this is the main thing. At scrum half, for example, we've actually gone with 5 different scrum halves. Now that shows you that's potentially a problem position, 2 older players, but then you've got 3 younger players who are ready to sort of move in there. And I think Morne van den Berg in particular, alongside Grant Williams, I think will be part of the future. Much like the fly halves, where ironically, where last World Cup we didn't have a lot of fly half options, we're now looking very good with regards to our fly half options, and nothing to worry about really with regards to an age profile. It's kind of more about a form profile and who we really want to back. Pollard, Sasha, your 2 top ones. Monty Liebach is always going to be floating around there, and I'd really like to back him. Jordan Henry's been a little bit disappointing, which, given the fact he's the same age as Sasha, it's comparing apples to apples when you're looking at the 2 of them. In fact, he's actually a year older. But centers for me probably remain one of the biggest worries, and Lakanya at this stage, big question marks over him. If you watch that Bulls game, just doesn't look like he's quite got the pace, doesn't look like the player he was. Jesse will be 33 at the next World Cup, not old, but not particularly young. So these 2 players, I think the big issue at the moment for me is finding that Lakanya backup, or probably the next Lakanya In an inside center point of view, Damon Delendi will be in the red, but you've got Ethan Hooker in at 20 at 2, will be 24 at the next World Cup. He's an incredibly young player. You've also got Andrew Esterhazen, who should also be all right. So again, centers are maybe a little bit of a worry. I think if Henko from Vake could stay fit, but you've got your Ranger Julius coming through as well, so you've got other options. But my biggest worry, I think, when it comes to centers is the fact that it's a case of they're either pretty old, like into their 30s in the next World Cup, or they're very young. Your Ranger Julius, Henko from Vake, Ethan Hooker are very young. There aren't really players sort of in their currently sort of 28, 29, who in the centers at the moment who are really impressive, apart from like maybe a Damien Willemse, for example. David Creel, someone who's been spoken to about a lot. Now, these sort of your red marks when it comes to your outside backs. Curtly Lawrence, Ches and Colby should all be fine. Again, it all comes down to the pace, but really is going to be moved on, and I tell you what, Maximo Pimpy in theory will be moved on, but the way he's playing, it's difficult to drop him. However, the succession plan is right there. And especially if you look at a McCarthy, what's amazing is the fact that McCarthy, shout out the Varsity Cup, is actually older than Kane and Moody. But the succession plan is there. You've got 3 full-back options, all who are going to be below 30. You've got 3 wing options who are all going to be absolutely fine. Everyone from the Merva at 31, but same age Curtly Lawrence. So the main thing is the state of the squad is really healthy. It is really healthy. Now, there's big question marks over the likes of a Lua Diaga coming back in, and is he still at his best? When does Vincent Koch, potentially step down? Can Bongi Manambi keep going? So there are those players in the red that we're going to have to sort of monitor as we go. But as long as they're still putting in top performances, and more importantly, looking on the pace, looking fitness-wise, absolutely fine, we can continue to back them. But the main thing is seeing how, especially these players who are going to be in the green and orange, an early orange, for example, how much game time do we give them? So that, for example, can we look at somebody like a Quan Horn? Is he going to be a genuine part of the next World Cup? Aple Fassi at the moment sort of our backup. But, for example, if we move Billy LaRue, got down to Damien Williams, Aple Fassi, one of them gets injured, all of a sudden you've got Quan Horn as a backup fullback. How much opportunity can we give him while still building an Aple Fassi in the next few years to make sure that they're both ready, so that you've got 3 fullback options? And that's going to be sort of the continued weighing up of decisions that Rassie Erasmus is going to have over the next couple of years. So, which of these players do you think won't make the next World Cup? That's my big question. Let me know down in the comments below. Smash the like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.